Back in the house with another Noise with Ivan. I'm completely prepared to tell you about some releases if I can access the list. I'm working on that right now. One thing I listened to recently, but Loud Silence had a new release from Juanito today. I think it came out that had it was almost, and I do enjoy the albums that are like 10 seconds of tone and then another 10 seconds of tone and another 10 seconds of tone. Like it's as if they're noise walls, but they're very short. So it works like a harsh noise record, but it also kind of works like a harsh noise wall release. It started out, however, and it was interesting because I was listening to it while I was on the toilet. I was having some ferocious diarrhea this morning. I had some spicy dinner last night. And it was weird because it would sound like animal noises when I listened to it later, but it was like a drum beat and it sounded like some farting. So I felt like somebody was playing drums and someone was also pooping at the same time as I was pooping. So it was like kind of like, pooping with friends is what it felt like. And the Mirax release, much more tame from Loud Silence, was also very good. But it's good to see like familiar artists having releases come out. You've always got while I'm used to what's going on in Gates of Hypnos, and relatively familiar with the new Gates of Hypnos projects. There's also other labels doing fun things. But yeah, the new Fabio Kiner, I believe is how you would say that. I've never said his name out loud before, but that release was really, really good. Um, Very uncomfortable, very electronic experimental. Going from electronic experimental to kind of being dark ambient. He has always been that way, and definitely not quite as noise as a lot of the stuff that is on Gates of Hypnos. There's a new Thabar out as well, which is always really cool. One of definitely a recurring Gates of Hypnos artist, yet not quite a common one. Job is out. Listen to Job. Listen to the new Carbon Sun. Listen to the new Recollector. There's a lot of great projects on Gates of Hypnos. The batch may be available by the time this video comes out. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing with the batch yet. I want to try to get another release in there before I put it out, so that we have about 8 releases. But if that's ready, I will put the link in the description just to the batch itself. All right, and this is a reminder for myself when this comes out. I need to put the batch in the description. And yeah, that's all I got for now. Welcome to Noise with Ivan. Go ahead and roll the intro. I'm really thinking about doing more Contrite Hearts, just a lot of Contrite Hearts, and not doing really anything but that. Because I've hit, after slavery, I'm not really sure what to make as far as a bigger project. I've had ideas, I've worked on things, I've come up with some really, big things, and sometimes you make the decision that you're gonna do something big, You're gonna make the next slavery or something like that, and it just doesn't pan out that way. So I'm thinking of Job could have been so much more than it was. And it really had the potential to grow while I was working on it, but I just don't spend that kind of a time on contrite heart projects. And now I'm thinking, why not? It became when I did Job, it went from being a normal noise release that contrite heart used to be to being a little bit of a theatrical release, almost like a symphony or something that represents something, or every instrument represents something, movements represent things. It tells more of a story, and you kind of adapt themes and elements of the book, the story in scripture. So, Job kind of became that. Job moved toward it, and I kept it from being that. I said, I am not going to rewrite this whole thing because I want to do an individual suite for each one of Job's friends and emulate the book, how the book works. I just wanted to do something that represented that one thing. The whole piece represents the patience of Job, but I could have gone a lot further with it, say, in representing the story. And Contrite Heart has always been a singular theme, you know, um, a musical project based on a singular theme. I think I want to go past that. I think I want to make more. And there's so many. I love the Gustave Doré art, and I've become really used to to doing it. So I'm thinking about just making those for a while because honestly, there's endless inspiration when you are simply you're not taking something from yourself. You're simply recreating something that was seen, and that it's something that I want to do. I don't just want to make my own projects. I want to work for other people and work on their projects. If I wanted to score a movie, it's going to be rather similar to the way that you score a biblical passage. So, I mean, maybe not. Might as well, I've never had the inclination to do that before, and my musical ability has kind of gone a little bit further with everything that I've been blessed to be involved in. I'm kind of into it. I listened to a lot of music this week. I don't know how much I'm gonna be able to fit into one video. Maybe I can fit it all in. Sometimes I'll think, oh, this is 2 episodes of music I listen to. And then it's not. And then I can easily fit it all in. I was making the new Distorting a Woodpecker release, which was very good. And I should have probably plugged that at the beginning. But I've done so many projects that have had that Loathing the Weight of Snowfall is that release, and it's a very good release. That's going on tour with him. They're going on for the Debilitator Fest, and they'll be touring with he'll be touring with Woods Mattress and Last Action in June, which is really cool, and I'm really excited. And I had to make some releases to go with him for the merch table, and that's exactly what I sent out to him. Eric is his first name. I refer to Woods Mattress as Alex, and I'll refer to him as Eric as my American Harsh Noise buddies. I refer to Chris Brooks as Chris Brooks. You know what I mean? So, and I can say their names a whole lot easier than someone like Shremo. Shremo. Chris Brooks had a story. He reposted, someone had posted an album and they used, a song from the album called Grafting. And Grafting has various artists on it, but it sounded really good, but I didn't actually find it. It wasn't on Bandcamp. The artists on it though, Ichiko Aoba, and I thought Ichiko was a guy's name, but that was because I was thinking of Ichigo from Bleach. Windswept Aiden, which was on Bandcamp, and it was very good. It was I gave it four stars. But yeah, this was one of the things that I listened to when I was burning those CDs for him, and that will be available in the batch, but I think will also be available. There's some few copies that I'm actually going to sell, but I mean because I was putting it on the batch and I was making copies for the tour, I didn't want to make too many more than that. It was a lot of stuff. I made I think 20 copies of it. Which is not normal. We're a 15 copy label. If that. But yeah, this was just gorgeous. You don't get a lot of I don't listen to a lot of A, vocals, B, female vocals, uh, and C, chamber folk female vocals. But it was a really, really cleansing experience for me. And this is common for music nerds to listen to a release like that. That's a pretty big deal. So I would have loved to listen to Grafting, but that did me just fine. Yeah, it was very, very soothing. And then I completely did a curveball. The same thing, kept it Japanese, but then I listened to Future Girlfriend Through Space I See You. Through Space to See You, sorry, pardon me. And this is not top 10 of Neon City, but it was still great. I absolutely love the Neon City mixes and cassette tape stuff that they have going on. It was really enjoyable. And just keeps the vibes up because that last release was so somber. It was rather somber. Um, it kept me in a positive mood, but it wasn't, energetic. It's good to have energy going because I get so fatigued. It's not like I've done any hard work or anything like that, but if I'm sitting making CDs and then writing on it and putting it in the sleeve, then I'm absolutely wiped out just because the activity makes your body want to go to sleep. But every couple minutes you have to I am loving Not of the Flesh is on its way to having 200 releases, right? We're around 70 to 80 right now, maybe leaning on 80. We have so many releases, and I'm just realizing that we have put that many physical releases out into the world. A lot of labels do, a lot of super small labels like this do 15 physical releases, So stuff doesn't last this long. And this hasn't lasted a long time. We just put out a lot of releases because we have a very low budget way of doing things to where we don't really put a cap on how much we do. We do multiple per month. Which is really nice to be able to do. I like the way that we do it, and I don't expect it to live on forever, but I like it. It's pretty cool to have a fat stack of stuff that's archived, and I also like all the stuff that I've traded for. And yeah, one day that stuff will feel collectible. Right now, it doesn't feel as valuable, I think, as it will be. Um, but I've noticed that a lot of the punk records and things that I bought when I was 13, 14 years old went way up in price, and I can't believe it. I was mad. I was like, oh, I had the poster over here and it fell down because I've been using my fan in the summertime. There's a band called Blown to Bits, and they did a split with Death Toll. And I bought that record for $3, and I had gone to a record store maybe 5 years later, and I was going off. I was like, how are these fools going to sell this for $24? It was like, $24, something ridiculous like that. But everything's like that. That's especially stuff that kind of leans toward black metal has gone way up in price. Anytime that this stuff is valuable, if it goes up in price, it's not going to go up in price because I'm still doing it. It's going to go up in price because it's done for. You know what I mean? Yeah, this says, okay, so that store was whack because this is giving me a median. Discard is giving a median of 349. So that was crazy. It might have been $15, but still, that's a $2 purchase right there. Anyway, distorting a woodpecker and woods mattress. I did make this. Mm, it was the last distorting a woodpecker I actually made. I did make that release. We didn't sell it on Gates of Hypnos. I was confused about whether or not we were going to release it through Not of the Flesh. We did not really. It was a Gates of Hypnos release and it was a Not of the Flesh release. No, it was a Gates of Hypnos release, but not of the Flesh release, essentially. I didn't put any banners, and there's been several times when Alex had me make releases for him, uh, and only wanted to self-release it and not put it out through the label. Summer Memories by the Rain People. This was by no means a noise release, but a very, very weird avant-garde release kind of thing. Maybe a noise release. I don't know. It was just noisy, but it was kind of like dark ambient, a lot of vocals, a lot of dialogue happening in it. But what I love about this, I want to point out my favorite thing about this release is it has SPNet on the cover. It has the website and the issue number, right? Like the catalog number. That's insane. That was a label. That's a label from Panama City, Florida. Last release is from February 2014. So this is old, but I just thought it was really sweet to. I don't know how much the full digital discography costs because I own it and they haven't released anything since then. But it's pretty sweet to have some stuff that's old like that, and that just screams 2014 when you see the website on the cover. Maybe there are cool things. I'll have to do some research on that label, but I couldn't find the release on Rare Music, so that's not a good start for telling me that if whether or not I'm going to be able to actually find the release. I have been listening to jazz recently. Paul Blais Ramblin'. This is on the Actuel series. This is number 13. I don't know that you can necessarily find everything that was on Actuel, but it's a famous jazz label. He kind of plays in spurts. He plays you can hear him thinking, I suppose. It's Mark Lanson on bass. He plays super aggressively, but it's not loud. He has like a solo, and that's the only time you can really get a lot out of him. But still, you're not getting a lot out of him. He's just super low in the mix, and I don't really understand why they did that. Barry Atchell on drums clears a bell. Easy. It was just super loud. Maybe even louder than Paul play at times. But that was a really great record. It comes as very nervous and by the way, Actuel is all free jazz. It's a free jazz series. So that's what you're getting when you listen to them. They had writing credits for Ornette Coleman and Carla Bley as well. And I think Annette Peacock, didn't she have writing credits on that? Maybe she didn't write anything on it, but I think he was married to Annette Peacock at the time. But I don't think he should have stuck with Carla Bley. She was amazing. Escalator Up a Hill is a incredible release. I really like it. I don't think everyone likes Escalator Up a Hill as much as me. I really love experimental big band. You don't do there's not a lot of genres like that. It's for me, experimental big band, emo violence, and ambient noise wall. You're not gonna lose me on too many of those releases. Andrew Cyril, what about? It was just killer drums. That was also on the Actual. That was Actual number 16, um, which was a really powerful drum release. It can be monotonous though if you don't like jazz drums for, you know, a long period of time. But a lot of those old records, not long. They don't take a long time to listen to. So throwing in a few jazz releases or something like that to your listening phase, it's not like what I'm about to talk about in noise. It's not going to take a really long time. Noise, you can't put in like 5 albums every day. So it was nice to take some time just to get a short little jazz release in there at times. I listened to Nick Drake, which reminds me, Towns Van Sant, I had my first listening session with him and I'd never been into it before. I didn't like Nick Drake that much. I'm sorry. But and I don't really know what chamber folk even means, but that's why I listened to Nick Drake because I was listening to Ichiko earlier when I listened to Nick Drake. I don't know why I put him in the list. Towns Van Zandt was really good. I really enjoyed that, and that was my first time listening to him. All right, let me move on to noise. What I did for these, not everything. Nausea Negra did a really great. That was another recent Gates of Hymnos project. Kind of social circle worked with Nausea Negra. There's someone else, but Seder Rituals did a Nausea Negra split. And he has a lot of cool releases. If he didn't live in Mexico, I might still want to. I don't know what the shipping rates are, but I do not like doing outside of the country shipping. If somebody orders from outside the country, sure. If they want to spend $20 to shipping, okay. But I don't like doing a release where I have to spend $20. It's just not efficient. I'm not going to make most likely $20 off of a release, which is why we have 70 releases. I make $20 off of like 5 releases. Again, though, with the things might be growing, with starting to do release batches is huge. Very beneficial if you're starting a noise label. Your batch is where your money's at. You might not. We've had several individual releases come out and not actually made anything off of them. Wallmaster had a release called Lo-Fi Shit, and I was reading a book, and this was a great time to listen to a book. And like I mentioned, some of these noise wall releases are super long, and this was super long, and I did mostly listen to it all the way through. I was reading a book, so it came in handy. I was reading Rudin, which is a ridiculous Russian novel. Not everything is as good as Dostoevsky when you're thinking about Russian literature. Okay, it's okay. It definitely has the same vibe as Dostoevsky or those guys, but you definitely want to stick with your, classics. You read all the Dostoevsky books, go ahead. Read Ivan Turgenev. But this was really good. It was super long. It was worth it though. Wallmaster is very, very intricate in his noise walls. This release really was, and they were their own thing for sure. But the way that I got to this was I went to Harsh Noise on Rate Your Music. I went to charts, went to the very bottom 125, and just listened to all the stuff there because all the stuff there is not necessarily low rated. No, it's not people giving it. It's not like it has a point one rating. It has point one star rating. It has no ratings. No one has rated it, right? One person rated it 3 stars or 5 stars or whatever, and it just goes to the bottom of the list because they don't have enough ratings to consider it anything. Look how poorly this is burning. This is not my usual fancy stuff. So I went down there and tried to listen to everything and give everything ratings and found some really cool stuff. It's just most of the stuff that you get down there is just stuff that no one's listened to. Yeah, mostly. So it's a really good place to go, and I would urge you go ahead, check out the stuff that's down there. But I listened to Apt House Wasp 19B. Apt House. Apt House is very good. I did not like Wasp 19B. If you want to listen to Apt House, the generous pedestrian split, there are no labor laws underwater is good. I really like that release a lot better. But Wasp 19B, and it was really good in a certain way. It was uncomfortable to listen to. You could kind of feel it in your guts. It was very, yeah, it was interesting. I sent it to Brian and he said, "Oh, this is my kind of harsh noise right here. Like this is good stuff." And I could see it being that way. I didn't enjoy it myself. It wasn't satisfying in any way. At the very end, there's a 911 call. That's the last track. I don't want to spoil it, but there's a 911 call at the end of the track. Uh, Oh, and there was also what I noted here is that there's a smidge of tone on the second to last track. The second to last track was very good. Kind of like Operation Miranda, that release, it disgusts you and disturbs you and works in that way. And it's a powerful thing and a valuable thing that noise has. It can psychologically affect you in ways that music can't because you're not you're not separated from it, right? You know that it's music a lot of the time when you're listening to music. You can hear that someone's playing an instrument. This is just something that's psychologically affecting you. You know, you don't always think about, if you're not a harsh noise musician, you're not thinking about what he's doing to get that tone or what knobs he's turning there or what pedals he's using or what modular synthesizers are on that rack, right? It's just noise and it's negatively probably affecting you. So that when you listen to something like Operation Miranda, literally having a super negative, harsh, emotional effect on you, which is what Apt House should have done. But the 911 call was at the end, so you don't have an emotional, you have the emotional thing afterward. It's separated. So if it had been at the beginning, then you would be meditating on a negative concept or the things that they had said in that call um, while you were listening to the noise. But it just doesn't make any sense to have it at the end. You know, it's kind of like a grand finale of making you uncomfortable or making you upset, but all the other noise was completely wasted. You know, all the other negative um, effects on me were completely wasted. So I thought it was a little ridiculous. I mean, it works. It's kind of impressive artistically, so in some ways, but composition wise, that was just stupid. I thought that that was absolutely ridiculous. So I didn't like Wasp 19B. It's impressive, but I didn't like it. Um, and I thought that the generous pedestrian split um, was very good. Of course, as a split being a little bit more casual. Electrostatic energy and enriched electricity was also down there. I found this at the bottom of the chart. It was very good. It was a harsh noise wall release. Not particularly incredible, you know. I hit it with a 3.0, or hit it with 3 stars. Amazing. It was good, not amazing. But it's like scientific stuff, and you know, if harsh noise wall dedicated on the Bandcamp page, it says harsh noise wall dedicated to science and astronomy. That's cool, man. I'm glad you're doing that. That seems awesome. So I don't want to, you know, put that aside. That's a cool themed harshness. Same thing with the Jolly Bee bee wall. Like I really just got a kick out of that and was pretty hyped. I don't know how many more. I thought I would be able to fit most of this into one episode, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to edit this and maybe I'll split it up. I'll come back to you next week. I hope that this isn't too short. Maybe I'll put two in the same week. I'll come back to you next week talking about Phila Medusa. Mm. Check out Not of the Flesh on Bandcamp.com. Check out the new Job release. If you want to support this channel, I should say this. If you want to support this channel, I do not have this stuff monetized. A good way to do it is to buy CDs from Not of the Flesh. If you don't like to collect CDs, if you don't want my CDs, that's okay. Um, please listen to the releases under releases because those are monetized and do give me a small amount of income. So if you get time, if you want to listen to something, go ahead and listen to Slavery Over There, Man Hates God, all those releases. Benefits me a great deal. And be sure to support all your favorite noise artists. Go on Rate Your Music like this, give stuff ratings that allows us to kind of level the playing field as far as, not the same top 10 noise artists all the time. Sorry if this is a short episode. I didn't feel like I went through that much stuff today, but I'll hit you with more stuff. Okay, it's coming. I got a lot. I listen to a lot more than that, and I'm gonna get into it. So